No, you're in your mom's office. I traveled to Potsdam, just outside of Berlin, a city where decisions were made that both established and then tore apart the German nation. Frederick the Great, who we'll learn about today, plants the seeds of German nationhood. We'll talk a little bit about Otto von Bismarck, who made the German nation. We'll discuss Adolf Hitler, who tore that nation down. Let's go check in with Ben on the train to Potsdam.
What's up, you guys? We are here on the S-Bahn train on our way to none other than Potsdam Central Station. And we're not just doing one era of history here in Potsdam, we're doing two. We're going to be looking at the palace where Frederick the Literal Great spent most of his vacation time, and we're also going to be visiting, on a more serious note, the Potsdam Conference, where World War II was ended. See you there. All right, guys, let's zoom out a little bit. The Holy Roman Empire is a disunified conglomeration of states in what is today Germany. They are ruled by the Holy Roman Emperor, who, yes, in name is in charge, but in practice, it's very decentralized. It really comes down to the local rulers of each province. And one of those provinces was Brandenburg, Prussia. And this is one small province that is going to slowly grow over time into what is today modern-day Germany.
The way this happened was unsurprisingly through war and conquest. When Frederick the Great comes to power in 17... Mother! The way this happened was unsurprisingly through war and conquest. When Frederick the Great becomes king of Prussia in 1740, he already has at his disposal a uniquely impressive fighting force. He's going to use it to establish Prussian dominance by way of conquest. The two most important conquests you need to know to understand this take place in the Empire of Austria and the Kingdom of Poland. Frederick's number one enemy and least favorite neighbor, Austria, is ruled by the Habsburg family. In their heyday, this is what they ruled. This is what they looked like. Yes, that is a lot of land. And yes, those are some weird faces. Both things can be explained by the fact that the Habsburg both obtained and then maintained their power through strategic marriages. To put it mildly, they kept it in the family. To put it crudely, they banged their cousins. Sorry, this is all to say that our boy Freddy has picked for himself a formidable enemy. The year he takes power, he plows his fine soldiers south across the Austrian border into a region known as Silesia. Just 8 years later, a region you've never heard of and will never hear of again, Silesia, is taken by Prussia. It's a big deal. It's Silesia. But it's not just any Silesia. It's Habsburg Silesia. And tiny baby boy Prussia, not so tiny baby boy anymore. Baby boy Prussia has now taken center stage. And Freddy's not just going to stop there. He's going to next set his sights on Poland. Poland. How they've mistreated you. Armed with both a diplomat's pen and a conqueror's sword, Frederick makes a deal with both Russia and Austria. Yes, they are also enemies. Yes, they are also friends. Get used to it. Frederick the Great agrees with Habsburg Emperor Joseph II of Austria and Catherine the Great of Russia to take a united and joint bite out of Poland's territory. It's called the Partitions of Poland. It's pluralized because it happened a plural amount of times. Once in 1772, once in 1793, and once in 1795, after which point Poland is literally gone. We will not see her again until after World War I. Poor Poland. How they've mistreated you. So Prussia is a thing now. Great. Psyched. But by the end of the 1700s, the map of Europe still looks like this. No Germany. Yes, there's powerful Prussia, but it's surrounded by these disunified, kind of independent, kind of not states that are in name part of the Holy Roman Empire, but the Holy Roman Empire doesn't really have control over them. It's a mess. Enter Otto von Bismarck, the unifying beast of all unifying beasts. He's going to turn this disjointed land into what we know as Germany. When I taught AP European history to high schoolers the last couple of years, I knew Otto von Bismarck was a name they needed to remember. So I, regrettably, made the decision to refer to Otto von Bismarck as Otto von Bismarck. I made this. It's art.
Was that you?
No, it's not me. This was a mistake, as students exclusively refer to him as this, in both class and on exams. So yes, the Prussian Rizzler. Life gave him lemons and he made Germany. Much like dear old Frederick, he is a master of both pen and sword. Using both violence and political savvy, Otto von Bismarck is able to unify these disparate peoples around the idea of Germanness. You might also refer to this as nationalism. Otto von Bismarck was king of nationalism. So how does he do this? How do you get a group of people with not a lot in common to essentially group together as a singular nation? Otto von Bismarck's strategy was very similar to Frederick's: war and conquest. When there is war, there is a common enemy. When there is a common enemy, there is a united spirit. When there is a united spirit, there is a nation. So, through 3 wars, one against Denmark, one against Austria, and one against France, Otto von Bismarck is essentially going to give these people a reason to feel German. And then in 1871, the German nation is officially born.
Today we are about 100 years before that with Frederick the Great, who is the king of Prussia. And he sort of marks this turning point where Prussia goes from this small state with not a lot of power to actually becoming the dominant power in Central Europe. So today we are in this turning point. Sun Tzu means
without worries.
Without worries. Frederick the Great had this place built so that he could escape the pomp and circumstance of life in the capital city in Berlin. So this is the 1700s, and keep in mind that overlaps perfectly with the Enlightenment era. So Frederick the Great is what we call an enlightened monarch. He incorporated aspects of art, dance, music, and literature into his style of rule. It's only about 12 rooms. He's not hosting many guests here, although there is one guest of extreme importance that he would have. I'll give you a hint here. We're in the middle of the Enlightenment. He's obsessed with France, he's obsessed with poetry, and he's obsessed with literature. You got it, it's Voltaire. Frederick the Great came up in what you might call actually a bit of a rough childhood. I mean, he had everything he needed money-wise, but his father, Frederick Wilhelm I, was what you would call a bit of a dictatorial father. He did not like Frederick the Great getting into this music business, reading stuff, writing poetry. This was all very feminine to him. He wanted Frederick the Great only focusing on becoming a proper soldier and studying at the War College, which he did, of course. And so it wasn't one without the other. I mean, neither was mutually exclusive. He was actually quite amazing at both, which is probably why he earned the name the Great. Okay, I'm gonna get out of here.
Appreciate it, Ben. Now how about you get back on the train? Power through conquest. A precedent set by Frederick, perfected by Bismarck, and then defiled by Hitler. We have to understand Germany's foundation in order to understand the engine that drove Hitler's madness. After Germany loses World War I, the Allies take significant portions of German land away at the Paris Peace Conference in 1919. A large part of Hitler's appeal was that he condemned this theft of German land and used it to exploit the discontent of the German people. It is fact that Germany lost World War I due to the critical mistake of fighting a war on 2 fronts and for its lack of naval supremacy. But admitting that is no way to stoke German pride. Instead, Hitler follows the Bismarck school of knowledge and finds an external enemy to rally against. The communists, the capitalists, the socialists, the Democrats, the media, the intellectuals, the clergy, and behind all of these enemies were, according to his ideology, the Jews. Another common enemy. With sufficient fear and hatred stoked in the German mindset, Hitler turns to the next step in Bismarck's nationalist playbook, waging aggressive and expansionary warfare. In 1938, a year before the onset of World War II, Hitler moves his troops into both Austria and into Czechoslovakia. 2 invasions, and twice the world does nothing. This is the message Hitler needs to believe that he can pretty much get away with anything he wants, causing him to, not a year later, move his forces across the German border into Poland in September 1st of 1939, and you've got yourself World War II. Okay, World War II in under 1 minute, let's go. Hitler invades Poland. Britain and France declare war but do nothing about it. Hitler invades France, Denmark, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Belgium, and Norway. Now Britain is ready to do something about it. America, however, is not. Hitler invades Yugoslavia and critically Russia. America is still not ready to do something about it. Hitler's ally Japan bombs Pearl Harbor. Now America is ready to do something about it. The Allied forces officially form, led by Stalin in Russia, Churchill in England, and Roosevelt in the US. The Russians turn the tables and start pushing back on Germany. The rest of the world shows up in France and starts pushing back on Germany from the other side. Outproduced and outmanned, Hitler ends his life in 1945, 6 years after the war's onset. I am not even going to touch the mass murder of innocent civilians that defined this war. It is too massive, too illogical, and too sensitive to rush through. What matters for this video is that by the end of the war, Germany as a nation does not exist. Let's go visit the finish line. Ben?
We are gently scooting our way towards Sicilienhof Palace, where the Potsdam Conference was held. And this is the last of 3 conferences that are going to end World War II, right? So we started with Tehran, which obviously happened in Iran, followed by the more famous one at Yalta, which is the last conference that FDR is going to attend. and I have to turn left. Bro! Jesus. On the road again. Never mind, we're turning again. FDR had his last conference at the Yalta Conference, and as we all know, he lost his battle to polio. And as a result, Harry Truman steps in for the final conference. This is after the Nazis have agreed to unconditional surrender in May. So the Nazis have been defeated. Who has not been defeated? Obviously, the Japanese. So part of what Truman wants when he's coming to this conference is promises from Stalin that they're going to help, defeat the Japanese, because the Japanese are also right on the Russian border, and Stalin has just as much of a reason to worry about their interference. What else? Okay, that's good. So we did just get here, and we did realize that it's closed. The palace is closed. But I do know a guy, 3, to be honest. Joseph, and Truman, Stalin, Joseph, and Churchill. Oh, God, I'm not doing that again. So what are the goals here at this conference, right? If the Nazis have already been defeated, what left is there to decide? And it comes down to the 5 Ds, if you will. First and most important is denazification, right? Get rid of all Nazi symbology, rename Adolf Hitler's Strasse as something else. Second, decentralization, right? Germany cannot be allowed to be the formal state that it was for the last however many years. Third, demilitarization. We tried that during the Paris Peace Conference. Hitler didn't listen. This time we mean it, right? Germany cannot build up its military. Fourth, most importantly, perhaps democratization. So Germany is now officially a democracy. Multiple parties are allowed. It's not just one party like it was during the Nazis' time. And number 5, I actually forget what it was. Deindustrialization. Bodied it. Yeah, 100%. Right, so Germany is essentially kind of being neutered in a way, so that it can't do what it did in World War I, and it cannot do what it did in World War II. They're essentially being put in timeout. More than that, what they do here at Potsdam is confirm what they decided at Yalta, which is how are they going to actually divide up a conquered Germany. And so what they do is they split it into 4 occupation zones. One is obviously the Soviet sphere of influence. That is going to be the east of what will become sort of the Iron Curtain. It hasn't been named yet, but the Iron Curtain. And then in the western side, you're going to have the American, the British, and weirdly enough, the French will also get an occupation zone. Berlin is going to be a microcosm of that. So even though Berlin lives in the Soviet sphere of influence, the West is going to have some access to it, right? That's how you get things like the Berlin airlift, and that's also why you get the Berlin Wall. So it's sort of a microcosm for how Europe has been divided. Thanks for tuning in, squad. See you in the Capitol. I love you. Thank you for watching.